Hey everybody, Tom here with Hidden Beats, and today we're talking with Steph La Rochelle, right here in Ottawa, local to me, which is kind of nice to have a hometown girl here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. What a small world. We're both in Ottawa.
Hmm. So we're here today to talk about you, about your music, and about what you do in the world. But for those who are new, can you give a little introduction about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Steph, and like we just mentioned, I'm from Ottawa, born and raised, and I'm a singer-songwriter. I also do a little bit of acting. So I've spent some time doing some TV and film, some on-screen projects, and some theater as well. And that's actually kind of how I got my start. I grew up singing first, and then dabbled in some community theater and stuff like that. And yeah, recently released my first EP, and here we are.
Hmm. So getting your start with acting and stuff, was there what was the musical side? How did that get started for you?
Yeah, so music was sort of I started singing when I was around 5. Those were some of my first sort of public performances with a school in Ottawa called the Pop Shop, actually. And and yeah, so I started singing first, and then I grew up watching a lot of like musical movies, things like Annie and The Wizard of Oz and stuff like that, and was really drawn to those. And then started in school plays, and then some community theater and stuff like that. But singing was first, and then I kind of jumped on stage and into some theatrical projects and stuff.
Hmm. What, or I guess who were some of the early, you talked about Annie and the musical theater side type of thing, but who were some of the early inspirations that you had in the music space itself?
Yeah, so some early, super early influences would have been a lot of music that my parents would play at home. Like they always had music on, and so my dad would listen to like Supertramp and Elton John and stuff like that. And then also a lot of really great female vocalists like Whitney and Barbara and Celine and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I grew up listening to a lot of that stuff and singing a lot. Celine Dion was like a huge one for me. I grew up listening to her music and singing her songs. And then actually as I grew up, I was obsessed with American Idol when it first came out.
Yeah.
And like everyone was, it was this sort of this new, like, I had never seen anything like that, this sort of contest idea. And so fell in love with like Carrie Underwood and Kelly Clarkson and really idolized them. And Kelly Clarkson was actually one of the first concerts I saw here in Ottawa. And and then just it kind of snowballed from there. And I one of my biggest idols today is Sarah Bareilles. I think
Hmm.
she's an incredible vocalist and like one of the best songwriters of our time. And I really admire her career as a whole. So she's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, those are definitely some big names to kind of want to look at too. Do you remember the first album that you bought for yourself?
I do. It was Carrie Underwood. I think it's called Carnival Ride. Um, yeah, I remember and it would have been, was it HMB? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
CD, yeah, yeah, yeah. Went and grabbed that CD, and that was the first one that I remember. Like, I got my own money and went to the store and bought that and listened to it nonstop.
Yeah, those that first one is always the one that everyone they always remember that one because it's you're doing it for yourself. And like I have a really weird one when I asked this question. I bought myself the soundtrack to Gross Point Blank, which is super out there, but it's because it had a whole list of songs on it that I liked each one of them.
Oh yeah,
And it was just it all happened to be on the one movie soundtrack, so it made sense for me to want to buy that one at the time.
amazing. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I feel like we miss that these days. Like, people aren't with streaming. There's no real like physical. People aren't going out and buying CDs anymore. But I think that's so special to have that memory of like this is the physical thing. I can hold it in my hand, and
Hmm.
so yeah, it's special.
I think actually CDs, I think like Best Buy's officially got rid of all digital copy or physical copies of like DVDs and CDs now across their whole platform and all their
No
stores.
way.
So
Wow.
they just don't exist anymore. You can't find them.
Yeah. Well, nobody really has a CD player. At least vinyl's making a comeback, so.
Yeah, actually, my mom just bought my niece like a record player for
Oh,
her birthday
cool.
coming up this week. So she's 16 and she just started understanding the fact that vinyls exist. So so she's all excited about being able to go like, thrift store shopping and finding those random ones.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hmm. Now, we're local to Ottawa, so there's a pretty vibrant scene here for the most part. What's your thoughts on Ottawa music?
The auto music scene, I think in general, when people say, "Oh, like you're from Ottawa," they kind of go, "Oh," like they don't think there's much going on here. And when you
Hmm.
compare it to a huge city like Toronto or something, there's not as much going on, but Ottawa has a pretty vibrant art scene. There's some really great venues. Redbird is a really cool new venue.
Hmm.
Beautiful little listening room, and there are so many. There's always something to go see. There's a really strong community. It's a small, like close knit community, especially with, I don't know if you know of Mike, the Ottawa Music Industry Coalition.
Yeah.
They've really been a huge part in sort of the last couple of years for me, like in finding opportunities and in meeting other musicians and collaborating and stuff like that. So yeah, in general, Ottawa's great. We've got festivals, Blues Fest, like huge festivals, and um, overall, it's pretty sweet.
Well, a lot of people don't know that I think we have like four, no, five music festivals for the city during the summer. Like
Yeah,
we have Blues Fest, City Folk, Escapade,
there's
Riverside, and
Jazz
Jazz
Fest.
Fest.
Yeah,
Like there's a lot of big festivals out there that people just don't seem to know about, and they bring big names. Like Shaquille
huge.
O'Neal is coming for Escapade this year. Like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
huge names come through here. It's funny because I told somebody who's not from here about Blues Fest, and they kind of thought it was just like a small little community thing, like in a park kind of thing. And I
Mhm.
was like, no, Shania Twain's headlining. Like it's a huge thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because so I have people with working with hidden beats all across the country. When I tell them the lineups for the things that are here, like, oh man, that sounds so awesome. Like 50 Cent and Nas coming to Ottawa this year is going to be kind of crazy, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and you've got to play some of these stages, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah. Super cool. I played Blues Fest last year. And that's sort of been a bucket list thing. So that was really cool. And then, well, the Dragon Boat Fest that we may have bumped into each other there. So yeah, it's pretty neat. And City Folk used to have a thing. I don't know if they're still doing it, but called Marvest, where they would have artists sort
Mm.
of pop up in different, like along Bank Street, leading
Yeah,
up to
they
Queenstown and
did
different
some of that
venues.
this year or this past year. I'm like a little bit smaller, I think, though.
Okay, yeah. So that's cool just to have like little pop-ups and I did that years ago. I've also sort of been away for a little bit and moved back recently, so I'm just kind of getting back into the momentum of like the Ottawa scene. But yeah,
Hmm. Well, it's a fun summer to get back into it for sure.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Jazz Fest lineup. Looks really cool. Nora Jones and
Hmm. Yeah, there's some big names
Lake
on
Street
there
Dive and
that
stuff. Yeah,
I kind of went, wow, okay, I don't have time to almost see everything this year, it looks like. So, one of the things we're here to talk about is your music, and you have your recent EP release of Wildflower, which has also been nominated for a Juno Award. How was hearing about that for you?
it's pretty wild. I still can't wrap my head around it. I don't know how this is happening, but it's really cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. And especially on my first release and stuff like that, it blows my mind.
Yeah. What's the story behind the EP itself, like the name and everything? How'd you put it all together?
Yeah, so it was sort of years in the making. A lot of those songs I wrote years and years ago and had in my back pocket for a while. And the timing was never really right. And I had worked on some demos and never released anything. And then the title track, Wildflower, I wrote that song years back, and it was sort of inspired by um, different things. Like I took a drive. My friend, one of my closest or oldest friends, grew up on a farm, and I took a drive out that way, and was just sort of inspired by like the sun was setting a little bit, and so that sort of like painted the picture for the song. Um, I talk about like the dusty roads and the sun coming down and stuff. And then the song itself, it really is inspired by like self-reflection at the end of the day and just like trying to find your way. Um, and it really sort of tied the whole project together. And I'm also obsessed with flowers. So if you look at like my wardrobe, everything is floral. I love flowers. And I've always sort of, on the other side of it, I've always sort of felt like a wildflower in some way, like I maybe never really fit in exactly anywhere, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, so all of that really inspired the title track and the title of the album. Yeah.
So does most of your music come from your personal experiences, or do you try to, make you have a thought and try to make a story out of something?
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I think I think inspiration comes from different places. It's not necessarily always a direct, especially because a lot of these songs I wrote a while back for this project specifically. Like it didn't always come from a place of direct experience, but it could be, you know, seeing somebody else in your life go through something, or even watching like movies and those kind of stories. And I think what sort of happened for me in this case is maybe writing songs inspired by situations that I didn't directly go through, but then sort of not manifesting them, but as you grow, I think you have a deeper understanding of life and in many aspects, and
Hmm.
then you sort of develop a deeper connection with the songs. So I'm feeling that a little bit these days.
Is it harder to write something that you've experienced versus putting together what you think something should be?
Um, I wouldn't say, I think I don't necessarily, I don't know. That's an interesting question. Because at the end of the day, it's about authenticity. And when I say writing songs about something I don't know, I think there has to be some understanding of it for you to sort of write about it.
Hmm.
Um, but I think I just mean like you develop a deeper meaning of what that is when you have more understanding of it. Um, so yeah, so I never necessarily want to like write something that I have no understanding of, because there has to be that sort of like authentic connection to a song. But and it also sort of, when you think about like acting, people there are actors who play parents who maybe aren't parents, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So it sort of comes down to just like wanting to tell stories and um yeah, does that make, if that makes sense?
It does, yeah. I mean, like you said, with the actor portion, you everyone you may not be a parent, but you've experienced a parent. You've had parents, so
Right.
you have something to draw off of anyways. There's always a connection somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. Yeah, there's always a connection somewhere. It just depends on sort of the point of view.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
an outer point of view or inner, it makes for a different story, but it's still the same story in the end, really.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I like that. What's the best piece of advice you were given when you were coming up in your career? I'm sure you've had, mentors or things like that that you've kind of drawn some inspiration from. What's one that stuck in your mind?
Huh. I think I think I've there was I had a mentor once actually, like it was another artist through this program I was in, mentored me, and we got to sit down and chat, and they said take your time. Um, and that really stuck with me, and I think I have, because there was a period of time where I had some demos, and I wanted to release music, and for whatever reason it just didn't feel right, and I didn't want to rush anything, and I didn't want to sort of jump into it and then look back and go, ooh,
Hmm.
that didn't work out, or I'm not proud of that. Or so I think that's a really important thing, that everyone's on their own timeline. It's really easy in this industry as a woman and just kind of in life in general to sort of compare yourself to others and to think, well, oh, they're already at this level, or they're doing, this person's doing this and this person's doing that. Like, why haven't I gotten to that point yet? And um, it's important to just kind of stay in your lane um, and and that's kind of Wildflower kind of has that theme in it too. It's really about just like doing your own thing and doing things on your time.
Hmm.
I
How do
think
you
that's
think music
important.
has helped you grow?
As a person,
Yeah. Or just oh, in general, as just in your life as a person, as a musician in general.
yeah, that's a big one because it's hard to sort of imagine my life without music. I and last year was last year was a hard year for me personally. It was kind of a dark year, and um, when you're sort of in those low points, it's uh, it's it's easy to sort of say like it's all too much, it's
Hmm.
difficult, that kind of thing. But then for me to think about like life without music, it's sort of my identity a little bit. It's felt like if I was gonna, say no to all of this, then like who am I kind of thing. So I think it's really shaped me. Music in general, I think it's so healing to so many people. There's just something so beautiful about like the connection that it can create and the fact that like a song can make someone's day brighter or make them feel seen is just the most beautiful thing, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, music is so many things for so many people, and it's I know music help like if I didn't have music, I couldn't get through the day sometimes. There's just so many things going on. I need that moment where I can stop and focus. And I go to sleep with headphones on so I can listen to music and I don't wake my wife up. Like
Yeah.
there's always something for me that I need music in my life for like that.
Yeah. And what's really cool is there's so many different genres that like there's all these playlists now that's like the mood that you're in or like if you want to like be in a cheery mood, you listen to this. If you want to
Hmm.
um get some work done, there's like science to all of that too, which is it's cool and it's such a universal thing.
Yeah, like I have
Yes.
a cello playlist when I want to have a relaxing moment where it's just different, cello pieces that people have done, and I just kind of grabbed a bunch of them, put them together, and I think the lower tones in that help me settle down in a different way compared to, even a violin in that sense where it's got the higher octave to it. Those different things, the sciences really do actually, I think, play a lot in those.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of studies done on like different frequencies and what they do to the brain and stuff. And
Hmm.
what's really something that just popped into my head is that's really cool is the way that my grandma actually had Alzheimer's. So it hits a little bit closer to home, but like you'll see people with that disease that don't remember much of anything, but then or like people that are musicians that have that disease that
Hmm.
don't remember much of anything, but then you ask them to play a song and they'll sit down at the piano, it's just there. It's like a different part of the brain that is connected to that art and
And watching it unlock that way too,
yeah,
because it's all out of nowhere where you wouldn't think that it's possible again, and then it just goes right to it.
that's
Yeah, I've
right.
seen that before. It's really interesting to watch that happen.
Yeah.
And then same with I think like kids with autism and things like that, they can all of a sudden just be insanely talented musicians because that helps them kind of like level themselves out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
Hmm.
it's an important my high school actually didn't have a music program. Basically, it was only the last year that I was in school we had it. It was mandatory in like 7 and 8, but 9 through 11 it didn't exist. And I think it should be like
Hmm.
a mandatory thing and I think it helps with like math and all kinds of things. So,
What high school did you go to?
St. Mark.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Did
went
you
to Sir
grow up in
Robert
Ottawa
Borden.
too?
Yeah, I've
Sorry.
been in Ottawa for 20 plus years type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to Sir Robert Borden, and that's kind of where
Okay.
all my family's been going.
Nice.
Hmm. So we've come to the point where I like to ask some fun questions. We've got a lot of music questions out of the way, so now it's more to see just kind of how you think a little bit.
All right.
First one is the one that's going to make you think the most, and it's my favorite. What's one thing you think should be asked more in an interview that's not asked enough?
Oh, one thing that should be asked more in an interview. I kind of have a silly response for that.
I've heard all kinds, so there's nothing that's wrong in there.
Yeah. Because I would say it's always cool to know sort of how people got their start, and like because everybody's roadmap is different, I feel like there's no one way to sort of attack this industry. So that's always interesting to see how, and I'm sure that's asked all the time, but some just like random really funny question would be like, what did you eat for breakfast? Like just to sort of see like it, I don't know, it's just kind of fun to like bring the, especially when you're watching interviews with like massive artists,
Hmm.
that sort of just humanity. It just sort of brings back the humanity, like
Yeah,
they're
it
grateful
humanizes them
at
a little bit.
breakfast kind of
So
thing. And
yeah,
yeah, that's just a
no,
funny.
those are fun because it's something that you wouldn't think of sometimes. And I've got some really great answers out of that I've actually put into some of my questions now because it's so helpful to me as a researcher too.
Yeah.
Hmm. That, and I like that one because everyone goes, "Oh, wait a minute, now I don't know what to say," and I think of
It's a
the
tough one.
best ones they can. Now, this one's fun. Is what's something on your go-to playlist that people wouldn't expect you listen to?
That people wouldn't expect.
Like if
Oh,
you turned it on in the car with your friends, they'd be like, "You like this song?"
yeah, yeah. I, in the car, actually, I listen to a lot of alternative rock. Like I'll
Okay.
throw on Live 885 a lot, and I think that people wouldn't expect me to listen to that maybe. Um, but I like a good rock song. I like Enter Sandman, like Metallica. I
Yeah.
could jam out to that. I think that's sort of unexpected, but yeah, I listen to all kinds of stuff. Everything from like Broadway to rock and everything in between. So
Yeah, a good song's a good song. So if it
yeah,
hits you that
exactly.
way. Whenever I go pick up my niece from schools, I always like I drive around the back of the school over to pick her up. I wind down all the windows and I crank on the heaviest rock I can find, just so it embarrasses her when she comes out. And then we drive slowly past the school when all the kids are leaving and she's covering her face and I'm just going like a crazy person. She loves it in the end though, which is fun.
Yeah, she'll remember that forever.
Hmm. Now we talked about one of the first concerts you've seen, but I'm curious, what has been your overall favorite concert from a fan perspective that you've been to?
Ooh, my overall favorite. I'm a Jonas Brothers fan.
Okay.
So I've seen them, I think I've probably seen them 3 times now. Um, I saw the first time I saw them was a good one at Budweiser stage in Toronto. Uh,
Hmm.
it was kind of a long story because I wasn't supposed to go. Uh, my roommate was going with her sisters, and I didn't get tickets, but I had entered one of their contests. And then on the day, got a call from the team saying, like asking where my seat was, because I was a potential candidate for the contest. Like it was to sing
Okay.
on stage with them. So I ended up throwing on an outfit and like running down the street trying to get a taxi to get to the concert. And I didn't make it in time, but that's like a very memorable concert because just all of that. But the concert itself was amazing. It was my first time seeing them, so that was really fun. Um, I feel like I need to name a few because that sticks out. I've seen Celine in concert, which was like so
Yeah.
cool.
I got to see her the last time she was in Ottawa. I
Oh
actually
yeah.
so I actually do photography a lot. That's kind of where I started with everything. So I try to get out to as many shows to cover them also on top of the interviews. And I was lucky enough to get to shoot her concert here.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
There's some great pictures I got out of that for sure.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, she's a huge one. So that was cool to see her live. And then there was one other one that I was gonna say. Oh, I've seen Blue Rodeo a few times, and that's always the best.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of them. So
Yeah, Blue Rodeo is kind of that pinnacle, like, or the standout Canadian act that's great at what they do, no matter where they do it, kind of thing.
yeah, always
Mhm.
solid, always a good show.
Yeah. If you were to introduce a new fan to your music for the first time, what's the first song they need to listen to?
Ooh.
This is like your favorite
Um,
child song.
yeah, well, I always say that's funny you say that. I always say like picking a favorite song's like picking a favorite child.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I would say it's between No Sleep Tonight's the first song on the album and one of my favorites. I was gonna say slow. No, I'll stick with that. No Sleep Tonight. So that's the first song. It kind of works out well in that way. It's the first song on the record. So if you're listening to it from top to bottom, that's the first one that you'll hear. Um, but just sonically, I'm really proud of the production and it's got like a bit of a backbeat, but has that sort of beautiful kind of organic sound to it. And yeah, it really sort of sets the tone, I think.
No, and it's nice because that's the one that you want people to see you as an artist. So if that's the one that kind of showcases you the best, and the first one always makes it easier.
Yeah.
Hmm. Now, this one's fun is who plays you in the movie of your life?
Who plays me in the movie of my life? Someone told me once that I look like Kate Winslet, and I don't know if I see it exactly, but if she wants to play me in a movie, that is okay with me.
Hmm.
She's a phenomenal actor, and yeah, yeah, she's incredible. So I'll go with that. Does that work?
Yeah, that
Uh,
works.
I don't know if you saw Mare of Easttown, one of her sort of more recent
I've seen a part
shows.
of it and then I got distracted and got into doing something else and then
Yeah,
didn't finish it.
yeah, just incredible. Yeah.
Hmm. I
So
definitely
yeah,
have to.
if there's some sort of resemblance there, then I'll go with that.
I mean, I guess I could see the resemblance. It just, you guys have a similar feel, like an energy, I guess, to you too. So,
Yeah, I'd like to think so. She seems like she has that sort of like quiet confidence or I don't know. I feel that a little bit. Yeah.
hmm. And then, so my last two, and I think these are important and best ones to finish off with, is what do you hope people take away from your music?
I hope that in my live shows I tend to shed a tear once or twice, and I want people to I hope that the songs evoke emotion or make people sort of feel connected in some way or understood. And the title track is really about sort of finding your way. So um, yeah, I sort of want people to maybe feel like if they're lost, it can sort of help them find their way, or if they need a shoulder to cry on, that it can be that for them. And um, yeah, just make people feel understood.
Hmm. Last but not least, what motivates you to keep walking down this musical road?
What motivates me? I think what I just touched on is a huge thing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I just want to tell stories and share music with people and it's such a community and just make people feel welcome and connected and um, sometimes I don't think it is a choice. Sometimes I think it's just like it's just I just have to, you know?
Hmm.
And that sounds so like cheesy and cliche, but I'll go with that.
You know what though? Even though you may think that's cheesy and cliche, it's the sign of something that you really like, that really grabs you and wants you need to do that. You can't do anything else because that's just always there. So it means that you're really into what you're doing for sure.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Well, that's all the fun points I have written down here. Is there any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave to people?
Words of wisdom. I don't know if I have too many of those. Um,
Everyone has wisdom in their own way.
yeah. Yeah. Wisdom. Oh man. Listen to Tom's Hidden Beats interviews. I don't know. No, he's not.
That's a good word of wisdom for sure.
Yeah. I don't know, words of wisdom in terms of like music or just life or
Just
I'll
something that
say
you think people need to hear, maybe.
I'll say this isn't my wisdom, but something that has been really sort of striking to me is, especially in the last little while, is the picture. There's this like cartoon sort of image. I'm sure there's many of them, but there's one that I'm thinking of specifically where it's this miner and there's two miners and one is sort of chipping away.
Hmm.
Yeah, do you know what I'm
I
talking
know
about? He's
exactly
chipping
what you're
away
talking about.
and
Yeah.
the diamonds are like right there, but he gives up and walks away.
Hmm.
Like so he's so close, but he gives up. Just don't give up, you know?
Hmm.
Because you never know what's on the other side. So
Well, and it takes time to be good at something. There's always that 10,000 hour rule that people say is you need to put the time in to be the professional. So
absolutely. Which
don't
brings us
stop at
back to
9,000.
that point of taking your time and
Hmm.
yeah.
So what's next for you? You have the Juno stuff coming up. Is there any fun shows and things you want to tell people about?
I'm playing a show at the end of April, April 27th at Redbird in
Okay.
Ottawa. Gorgeous little listening room. Yeah, so looking forward to that with Mars Aspen, and it's gonna be a good one. Yeah,
I'll see if I can get out to that one actually.
awesome. Yeah.
Making my notes right here. Where can people find you on social media?
My website is stephLaRochelle.com, and then you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all those things at, well, they're not all the same handle,
Are
but
they all on your
Steph
website
La
though?
Rochelle. They're all there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we'll link the website that way people can find you where they need to.
Perfect.
It was delightful getting to meet you and I guess officially now at this point
Me
and
too.
pick your
Yeah.
brain a little bit and I hope we get to do this again sometime.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll run into you soon. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, and if you're doing shows and you want some extra, photo coverage or whatever, just hit me up and if I can't come out, I'll send someone out
Appreciate it. Thank you.
anytime. All right, you enjoy the rest of your day now.
All right, you too. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, bye now.